talking about films.
I see so much. I got so many, but I'm trying to, I think about the things that I perennial, like I'm always going back to. And one of those things I've seen recently, and that's the Manchurian Candidate, Angela Lansbury's performance in that. It is one of the most riveting performances, one of the most well-written roles, I think, in film history. And she just makes a meal of it. She makes a feast of it. You just watch her like throw the condiments on it and like slice it and just, savor every word, these beautiful words.
And then when I take power, they will be pulled down and ground into dirt for what they did to you.
Also, oddly, I'll stay in this world a little bit because they're both British actors, but I saw Georgie Girl. Lynn Redgrave and Alan Bates are just unhinged in this film. Wolves set out in the wild, It was so exciting to see something like that is, as savage and wild and crazy, but also very intentional and very controlled, comical, humorous, but really poignant at the same time. I loved Angela Bassett in Boys in the Hood. Now, she only had maybe one scene or so in that film. It is the mark of an actor who doesn't have necessarily a lot of lines in a film, but the film pivots around what they do in those minutes or seconds that they are on screen. She and Lawrence Fishburne just had this chemistry. And she looked at him and she just told him to sit down.
Excuse me, I'm gonna get some cigarettes.
No, you're not getting off that easy. Sit your ass down.
Excuse me?
I said sit your ass down before I raise my voice and make a fool out of both of us.
I remember how I felt when she did it. It was small but vast. And staying in that world, Lawrence Fishburne and What's Love Got to Do with It? His performance remains Everest for me. I'm getting like emotional thinking about it because I watched what he did, and it is a testament to how something that is imagined and real can be alive in a person, like truly alive in someone, like in their skin, in their teeth, in their tongue, in their hair, and there was not one speck of untruth in what he did. I knew that whatever he did was the pinnacle of greatness. And whatever I did in life, I wanted to achieve that, whatever it was. So that's my 4.
So I think one of the greatest moments in the history of cinema, early on in The Mirror, in Tarkovsky's The Mirror, where he gets, you know what I'm saying already, where he gets off the fence, takes a few steps, and all of a sudden we hear what? The wind, a hurricane, the butterfly effect, I don't know, which to me is like almost the height of what cinema can do at this point, which is, of course, hyperbolic, but I love to think about it that way. La Jetée, which I think we've chatted about before, is my go-to. I think I watch it maybe once every week or so, at least once a month. It's when the heartbeat comes on. It really makes you think about the body of a film and a film as consciousness, relationship between perception and still images and moving images and all of the things that are the deep concepts, yet the practical exchange that happens in cinema. The general idea of time in La Jetée has a huge effect on Nickel Boys. And I said this quote when I did the Criterion Closet. Really early on, Chris Marker says, "Nothing tells memory from ordinary moments. Only afterwards do they claim remembrance on account of their scars." To use Aristotle, thickens time, where you're thinking about the relationship between the past, present, the perceptual encounter as coinciding with memory, as coinciding with anxiety for the future. That idea with still images and the idea that in La Jetée, it moves. There's an element of actual moving image, but the individual iterations of time just force someone to not be straightforward in the way in which you're thinking about the camera language being in contact with whatever naive reality a person's trying to explore. The montage element probably played more dividends in Hale County This Morning, This Evening, the movie I made before. And similar to Nickel Boys, ends with a montage that was made first, in the same way Nickel Boys, that montage was the first thing that was written. And I made a proof of concept version of that. And then in writing, Jocelyn Barnes and I are like, if we can get to the montage, then we can kind of open up and collapse the film. I don't know. I'm thinking, because I'm such a Tree of Life stan, there's so many moments that it just like caressed, you know, like the wave of the film. And I think I watched those moments, or experienced those moments, just because of the sheer musicality of the image and its moment in the narrative. I think it's hard to express, because what Terrence Malick does is, his films, at least Tree of Life, to me are very similar to Allen Ginsberg's Howl, and very similar to James Agee's Let Us Now Praise Famous Men. They're interested, I believe, in the way that form and the language of cinema can get to something deeper, and they're aware that it fails and you cannot do it. The piece of art isn't the site, it's just the portal to the thing. And Ginsberg and James Agee also had a similar, relationship to the world, in which like the language fails, so I'll give you so much. I'll make it so floral, I'll make it so organic that it'll be an expression of the best I can do to get you to the thing that I really want to say. Actually, I'm gonna go super left field, maybe a film that most folks haven't heard of. There's this really short film called T by a filmmaker named Keisha Ray. And let me tell you, it's one of my favorite documentaries that I think is at the precipice of reflexive, meaningful art, documentary, fantasy, fiction, reality, cosmos, like all of the beautiful ideas that both summarize and don't fully explain the way in which we are in the world. It's a very like ethical and forward-thinking way of making a doc. I would love for people to know about it. So it's called T.